open the floor for questions. Just, I guess, general thoughts on a 6 and 7 football season.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this season. Certainly the success we've had in recent years have put us in a position where our goals are very high. And we obviously didn't meet any of those goals. And that was disappointing. Certainly to lose 5 of our last 6 games was disappointing. To finish 6 and 7 was disappointing. And then to lose the bowl game to Georgia State was very disappointing. So, I think we were close to being much better than that. But, as Bill Parcells so eloquently said, you are what your record says you are, and the 2017 Hilltoppers finished 6 and 7, and that's what we were. That's what we are, and we got to live for that for the next 8 months, and figure out how we can get better.
Still confident in Mike Stoops moving forward?
Yeah, very much so. I definitely believe strongly in Mike. I'm extremely confident that we will win conference championships, we will win bowl games, and we will have great seasons under his leadership. I truly believe that. You can't let one season cloud your judgment. If we did, and I know that some people are frustrated, and hey, we're all frustrated. I mean, nobody's more frustrated than Mike is, and our players, and I would rather have people be frustrated than not care, but as I sit here, I mean, if we jump the gun based on a disappointing season or disappointing parts of a season, all we do is make coaching changes. When I remember when Willie Taggart was here, I mean, I had people that I respect and that I trust come to me and say, I don't think he's the guy. He hired a really young guy, and he's never been a head coach before, and I just don't think he's going to get it turned around. Well, we know how that turned out. And then when we hired Bobby Petrino, there was a core group that felt that was a mistake, that, yeah, you're getting a lot of publicity, but he's not going to be here very long, and things are going to be worse off when he leaves. Well, I would strongly disagree with that. And then even with Jeff Brom, his tenure, I mean, we were 3-5 at one point and lost bad at Louisiana Tech, and I remember the avalanche of criticism after that, and some of the same kind of things as, what was said about Willie was, he's never been a head coach before, and, just don't think he's the guy, and, just don't think he's going to get things going. Well, I think we know how that turned out. And so the same people that are upset now, in many cases, are the same ones that had said the same stuff over the last 3. And, a lot of people were on the wrong side of history with Willie, Bobby, and Jeff. And I truly believe if they don't believe that Mike Sanford will turn this around, they'll be on the wrong side of history again.
Why do you think things didn't go well on the field this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons. I think in no particular order, the 2017 roster was very different than the 2016 roster. It just was. You look at who we lost from a personnel standpoint. I mean, Ace Wales and Taywan Taylor and Nicholas Norris alone had over 5,000 yards and 61 touchdowns. With Forrest Lamp and Taywan Taylor, we lost the top 2 draft picks in the history of the program. We lost 3 starting offensive linemen, 2 of whom are in the NFL. We lost our top 3 tacklers on defense. I mean, we just had massive personnel losses. And I believe in our players. Don't get me wrong. And if you look at Ace and Taywan and Nicholas Norris, I mean, their freshman and sophomore years, their stats weren't off the charts like they were their junior and senior years. And I believe we have players now that will be great players for us. But we're not Alabama. I mean, we aren't going to lose that kind of production. Arguably the best players in the history of our program. 99 years of football, we probably never had an offensive lineman better than Forrest Lamp. The top 2 receivers in school history. So that's just hard to replace that overnight. I hope we would. We all hoped that we would, but it just didn't work out. And then I think, specifically, anytime you lose a game, you can always look at a series. You can always look at certain aspects of a game. But in the big picture, when you're last in the nation in rushing, and it was, our rushing this year was historically bad. When you can't run the ball, and then, we're in the bottom 10 in the nation in getting sacks and giving up sacks. If you can't run the ball, you can't pressure the other team's quarterback, and you have a hard time protecting your quarterback, that's a very thin margin of error. It's very hard to beat a good team when those things happen. And I just think in most cases, when we played good teams, that's stuff we just couldn't overcome.
Todd, at the end of the year, did you and Coach Stanford maybe sit down and talk, kind of an end-of-the-year review with himself? Could you kind of share maybe what the discussions were like?
Yeah, and that will continue. We met on Monday. We had a lengthy meeting on Monday while everything was still fresh in everybody's mind, and just kind of talk through everything. And it wasn't like that was like a big revealing meeting. I mean, we talk all the time, and we talk every week during the season. But got into a little bit more detail there, and he's doing the same thing with his staff. He's meeting, with his staff and having detailed meetings with each one of them. And it's a little more complicated this week with signing day being on Wednesday too. But that's a process. I mean, certainly, and we do this every year. I don't want to make it seem like because we went 6-7, we're evaluating in ways that we don't. But every year you always look at everything, and if you're only maintaining, you're falling behind. So you always have to look at what you did well, and what do we have to do to keep doing that, and then what did you not do well, and what do we do to make sure that we improve on that. And that's really where we are right now.
Off the field, are you pleased with the culture that Mike Stanford's building?
Very much so. I am. Anytime you have a staff change, it's different, and I think back to Brad's point, I think the transition, I don't think it's any great secret that the transition probably was more difficult from a football standpoint than we thought it might. And it goes that way sometimes. I mean, when Bobby Petrino took over from Willie Taggart, that was early on was a difficult transition. We lost a game at South Alabama. We lost home games to Troy and Louisiana Lafayette. Now that team got back on track and finished strong. This team, actually did well in the middle of the season and didn't finish strong. But I think in the areas in terms of what our guys are doing in the community, the way that they're living their lives, the way they're approaching their academics, I feel great about all three of those. We have a coaching staff that very much cares about our players way beyond what they do on the football field, and that's a good thing. And I'm not implying other coaches that we've had weren't that way. I'm not saying that at all. But I feel good about the culture that we have. I feel good about the values that we're instilling, and I think that will pay off for us as we move forward.
Are there staff changes that you would like to see?
Well, I mean, I'll kind of defer to Mike on that. I mean, we're just kind of in the process of that right now in terms of, what we might do differently, and it's a little premature probably to go there right now.
How disappointed were you in attendance numbers this season?
Well, that's another area. I mean, I think as a program, as the athletic director, I mean, you don't want to have paralysis by analysis, but you also have to analyze all the time. And I'm not criticizing our fans. I mean, we have a core group of fans that are outstanding. I mean, they're with us all the time. They go to the bowl games. They went to Illinois. They go to Nashville when we play. They sat in the rain at Miami of Ohio a year ago. And that's kind of like, to me, it's Chad, that's probably category 1 of our fan base. We need more in category 1. I think we have a category 2 fan base that is, and I'm glad they come, but it's kind of the arrive late, leave early group. I mean, you guys all see that. I mean, our crowds are very different midway through the first quarter and at the end of the first quarter than they are at kickoff. They just are. And then they're different early in the game and through the third quarter than they are at the end. So, and in the third group is just a group that really hasn't given us a shot yet. So, that's just the reality. That's just, to me, how I see it. We've got to do everything in our power to improve that, and I think there's 2 ways we can do that. One is what we put on the field, and I really feel we've especially over the last 4 or 5 years, we've done a great job with that. That has, being successful when having a high-flying offense on the field hasn't proven to be enough yet to fill the stadium. I mean, in 2016, we led the nation in scoring. We're going for our 2nd consecutive conference championship, and we get 13,000 people in the stadium. There's a lot of people that are passionate right now frustrated that we were 6-7. I wish we had that passion in 2016. Maybe we would have had more than 13,000 people at that conference championship game. But we've got to do our part there. It's on us to continue to win, to play an exciting style of football, to create a buzz, to create an excitement that causes people to, when the Hilltoppers kick off, to say, that's where I want to be, and then adjust their schedule around our games, because that's the place to be. And we have to make, we always have to make our venues better, and we are. One thing I would reveal today is we are, and we will get this done, we are having an aggressive fundraising push right now, and we're going to have high-definition video boards, brand new ones, state-of-the-art. They'll be spectacular at both the football stadium next year and in Diddle Arena next year. And the Diddle Arena one will also overhaul our sound system, which I know people are sometimes as frustrated about the sound as they are the video. So arguably 2018 in football and 2018-19 in basketball, the viewing experience in the stadium and in the arena will be the best it'll ever be. So we'll keep doing things to enhance the viewing experience. Obviously, we'll do everything we can to put a successful, exciting product on the field, and I am confident that, as we move forward, we will definitely win championships and we'll get better crowds, and that to me is where we're headed.
Coach Todd, earlier in the week, Coach kind of said almost like turning the page, getting ready for year 2. So now that younger guys will kind of be more in the system, plus the recruiting class, do you almost review next season, kind of almost a year 1 with his system and kind of this thing in place?
Yeah, and I've been very, very impressed with the way they've recruited. I think over the last few years, we probably had some misses in recruiting, and I think, and it's no exact science. It's impossible to predict how a 17 and 18-year-old will be playing at age 19, 20, and 21. But, there are certainly some recruiting analysts out there that are respected that have rated our recruiting class this year as the best we've ever had, and so that's certainly encouraging, because Rick Stansbury says it's about players, and it is. You have to get players in here, and I feel like we're doing that. I feel like we have a good young nucleus now, and certainly we are adding to that, and we'll need to. I think our conference is the best it's been since we've been in Conference USA. The overall depth of the league, FAU and FIU, their improvement has made the league stronger. I think that's good. A rising tide lifts all boats, and that was kind of one of the frustrations I think that we had before is the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. The last couple of years were really good, and then there was a pretty big drop off. Well, I think this year you had 9 or 10 that really were pretty good, and I think that's borne out in the bowl games. And FIU's game last night was a bit of an anomaly. Their starting quarterback, who obviously we saw firsthand what he can do, gets hurt on the opening drive, and that kind of threw that whole game off. But you look at the way Louisiana Tech played, look at the way Middle Tennessee played, look at the way FAU played really the last half of the year. I think the conference is strong. So we will need to obviously recruit at a high level, because I think our league from top to bottom, is as strong as it's been in a while.
I know we don't know exactly yet who's going to be on the roster next year, who's on the coaching staff, but sitting here December, 22nd, what kind of tangible goals do you have for the 2018 football season?
Well, I think the same goals we had this year. I think because of what we had achieved, winning a bowl game 3 straight years, winning 2 conference championships, that's the marker, and we embrace that. Now, the one thing I would say is, 2015 and 16, those 2 years we won a conference championship, if you do a historical analysis of our program, those years are kind of the outlier. The 34 years prior to 2015, we won 2 conference championships. So, to have a season where we don't win a conference championship and act like the sky's falling, I don't think that's really fair to that team, because that historically is not what we've done on a consistent basis. That being said, that is our goal every year. So, every year our goal is to do the things that Mike Sanford, has embraced. To win a conference championship, to beat a Power 5 team, to go to a New Year's Six bowl. You have to aim high. I think if you have, in anything in life, but certainly in athletics, if you have goals and you're hitting them every year, you probably aren't aiming high enough. You need to have high goals. You need to aim high, and obviously you want to hit all your goals, but you need to aim high. Nothing worth achieving is easy, and we'll continue to aim high. And the next year's schedule is a tough one. I mean, I would say right now, as you look at it, Wisconsin and Louisville will be better than Illinois and Vanderbilt were. So, I mean, those two games, will be challenging. But that's where we are as a program. We're fine with that. We want to play those games. That's the best way to measure yourself. And I'm confident about, the overall health of our program as a whole. I'm not happy about 6 and 7. I wouldn't even try to spin that. But overall, big picture-wise, I feel good about the leadership we have in place. I feel good about the players that we have returning. I feel good about the players that we're adding, and I'm very confident that we have great days ahead. I really, truly am.
Anything else? Thanks.